Welcome to this podcast video on Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian resistance. Gandhi was a key figure in India's struggle for independence from British rule, and his philosophy of nonviolent resistance has inspired social and political movements around the world. In this video, we will explore the life and philosophy of Gandhi, the context of British colonization in India, the Indian independence movement, and Gandhi's legacy and worldwide influence. We will examine how Gandhi's ideas and leadership helped to shape the course of Indian history and how they continue to inspire people to work for justice, peace, and freedom today. Join us as we explore the life and legacy of one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century. Gandhi's life and philosophy. Mahatma Gandhi was a prominent Indian nationalist and leader of the Indian independence movement against British rule. His life and philosophy had a significant impact on not only Indian history but also the world at large. Gandhi was born on October 2, 1869, in Porbandar, a coastal town in present-day Gujarat, India. He came from a Hindu merchant caste family and was raised in a devoutly religious household. After completing his early education in India, Gandhi traveled to London in 1888 to study law. In 1893, Gandhi went to South Africa to work as a lawyer and became actively involved in the Indian community's struggle for civil rights. He became a champion of Indian rights and was known for his philosophy of satyagraha, or nonviolent resistance. Gandhi believed that nonviolence was the most effective means of achieving social and political change. Gandhi returned to India in 1915 and began working for Indian independence from British rule. He organized various campaigns of nonviolent resistance, such as the Salt Satyagraha in 1930, which involved a march to the sea to collect salt in defiance of British laws. Throughout his life, Gandhi emphasized the importance of truth, nonviolence, and self-discipline. He believed in the power of nonviolent resistance to overcome oppression and injustice. Gandhi's philosophy influenced other civil rights and independence movements around the world, such as the American Civil Rights Movement and the African National Congress in South Africa. Gandhi was assassinated in 1948 by a Hindu nationalist who disagreed with his policies of tolerance and nonviolence. Nevertheless, his life and philosophy continue to inspire people all over the world to strive for justice and equality through peaceful means. British colonization of India. The colonization of India by the British Empire began in the early 18th century and lasted until India gained independence in 1947. The British East India Company, a private trading company, initially established a foothold in India through trade but gradually expanded its control over the Indian subcontinent. The British introduced a new system of administration, law, and education that was modeled on British systems. They also introduced new technologies such as railways, telegraphs, and modern medicine, which had a profound impact on Indian society. However, British rule in India was marked by economic exploitation, political oppression, and cultural subjugation. The British imposed high taxes on the Indian population and forced Indian farmers to grow cash crops for export, which led to widespread poverty and famine. The British also adopted a policy of divide and rule, sowing divisions among different ethnic and religious groups in India to maintain their control. As the Indian nationalist movement gained momentum in the early 20th century, British authorities responded with repression and violence. In 1919, British troops fired on a crowd of unarmed protesters in Amritsar, killing hundreds of people in what became known as the Amritsar Massacre. The Indian resistance to British rule took many forms, including non-violent protests, armed uprisings, and political mobilization. Leaders such as Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Subhas Chandra Bose played key roles in the struggle for Indian independence. Finally, after years of struggle, India gained independence from British rule in 1947. The legacy of British colonialism in India, however, continued to be felt in the form of economic and social inequality, as well as cultural and political divisions that persisted for many years after independence. Indian independence movement and Gandhi's leadership. The Indian independence movement was a political and social movement that aimed to end British rule in India and achieve independence for the Indian subcontinent. The movement was characterized by a variety of strategies and tactics, including non-violent protests, civil disobedience, and armed uprisings. One of the most prominent leaders of the Indian independence movement was Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was a key figure in the development of the non-violent resistance movement, which became known as Satyagraha. He believed that non-violence was the most effective means of achieving social and political change. Gandhi's leadership played a pivotal role in the Indian independence movement. He organized numerous campaigns of non-violent resistance, such as the Salt Satyagraha in 1930, which involved a march to the sea to collect salt in defiance of British laws. These campaigns inspired millions of Indians to join the struggle for independence and helped to raise awareness of the injustices of British rule. Gandhi's leadership also emphasized the importance of moral and spiritual values in political activism. He believed that political action should be guided by principles of truth, nonviolence, and self-discipline. This approach to leadership had a profound impact on the Indian independence movement and inspired many other civil rights and independence movements around the world. The Indian independence movement culminated in the partition of India in 1947, which resulted in the creation of India and Pakistan as separate nations. Despite the violence and social upheaval that accompanied partition, the movement for Indian independence remains an important and inspiring chapter in world history. Gandhi's legacy and its worldwide influence. Gandhi's legacy and worldwide influence are vast and far-reaching. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance and his leadership of the Indian independence movement have inspired people all over the world to fight for justice, equality, and freedom. One of the most significant aspects of Gandhi's legacy is his philosophy of satyagraha or nonviolent resistance. Gandhi believed that nonviolence was the most effective means of achieving social and political change. He demonstrated this principle in his leadership of the Indian independence movement, which inspired other civil rights and independence movements around the world. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence has had a profound influence on many political and social movements throughout the 20th century, including the American Civil Rights Movement, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, and the struggle for democracy in Eastern Europe. Leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela were inspired by Gandhi's ideas and methods and applied them in their own struggles for justice and freedom. In addition to his philosophy of nonviolence, Gandhi's legacy also includes his emphasis on moral and spiritual values in politics. He believed that political action should be guided by principles of truth, nonviolence, and self-discipline. This approach to leadership has had a lasting impact on political movements around the world. Finally, Gandhi's legacy includes his advocacy for social justice and equality. He fought against discrimination based on caste, religion, and gender and championed the rights of marginalized and oppressed communities. His ideas and activism have inspired many people to work for social justice and equality in their own communities. In summary, Gandhi's legacy and worldwide influence are vast and continue to inspire people all over the world to work for justice, peace, and freedom through nonviolence and moral leadership. As we conclude this podcast video on Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian resistance, we are reminded of the profound impact that Gandhi's ideas and leadership had on the course of Indian history and the global struggle for justice and freedom. Through his philosophy of nonviolent resistance, Gandhi demonstrated the power of peaceful protest and the importance of moral and spiritual values in political activism. His legacy continues to inspire people all over the world to work for justice, equality, and freedom through nonviolence and moral leadership. We hope that this video has provided you with a deeper understanding of Gandhi's life and philosophy, the context of British colonization in India, the Indian independence movement, and Gandhi's legacy and worldwide influence. We encourage you to continue learning about Gandhi and the history of India, and to apply his principles of nonviolence and moral leadership in your own lives and communities. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to sharing more insights and knowledge with you in the future.